fantastical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL network.
Yes, welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network, here to cover the Pedro Pascal and Coldplay episode of Saturday Night Live. My name is John from the SNN. So thrilled to be with you on this Monday night for our roundtable, where we do deep dives into sketches and talk about the biggest moments of the week. And this was a very fun week of SNL to wrap up the first run of 2023. Pedro Pascal was a host that I think was highly coveted, and I think he came through, but we're going to talk about that and all of the fun sketches and big moments from the week with a great panel and the live chat here on this Monday night. So first up, let me introduce my man, Sean Grant. Sean, how are you?
Oh, man, I'm great, John. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to get into it, man. I really enjoyed the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to talk to you. You know, last time, or not even last time, the first time you were here this season, Michael Longfellow had a big moment on Weekend Update. You're back this week. Michael Longfellow has another big moment on Update.
I'm his good luck charm, man.
Yeah. 100%.
We've been DMing more, man. I got more screenshots if you want me to drop some shit.
I'm always down for the exclusive. So yes, that's what people come here for, Sean. So we'll talk about it a little bit later. And then joining us, who's been spending some time down in Florida, it is Morgan Killoren. Morgan, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I know I miss being on here. I feel like I haven't been on here in so long, but I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, very, very excited to have you on, Morgan, and getting to hear your thoughts on the show. So looking forward to talking to you about all of that. And then last but not least, it is my very good friend, Mr. Andrew Haynes, on the podcast. Haynes, how are you?
Thrilled to be back. Obviously, love talking SNL with all you folks. And as you see, I survived dry January. Made it through.
How can we see?
Well, I mean, I'm living. So
okay.
Listen. Had a wedding this weekend on Saturday, so that was actually my first day back, and I celebrated hard. But I felt so good from the process. I'm back on the clear stuff. I think I'm going to just enjoy, maybe not doing too much drinking this year. So it's been good. Right. I feel healthy and alive.
Yeah, you do what works for you. So that's great, Haynes. We're gonna follow you on your journey throughout 2023. Which months you're drinking, which months you're not. It'll be a fun bit throughout the year. So we'll get to do that. But for now, let's talk about Pedro Pascal, and specifically the decision to book Pedro Pascal. And I'll take you back to a couple years ago when Wonder Woman came out in season 46. That was our first season hosting the podcast, and people were saying, "Oh, Pedro Pascal should host the show," and then we ended up getting Kristen Wiig. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a really good name. And he also did Game of Thrones. And I was like, this guy was making it really big. And then of course, The Mandalorian comes out over the last few years. Huge. Star Wars, obviously one of the biggest properties in the world. So The Mandalorian, could we get him? A lot of talk of like, maybe we'll get him because Kyle, the Baby Yoda thing, even though it's not everybody's cup of tea. And then believe it or not, Kyle's not on the show anymore. Now we finally get Pedro Pascal. And the main reason is because of The Last of Us, which is the biggest show on television right now. This is an apocalyptic show that is not so dissimilar to what's happening or what happened with COVID, but this time it's like a fungus has taken over the world, and flash forward 20 years and there's not that many people left. And this is based on a very popular video game where Pedro Pascal is playing the main character, Joel, throughout the series. So that's been out for 4 episodes and is one of HBO's biggest premieres, probably House of the Dragon this past year. And this has been like a huge show on television right now. And the thing for me is SNL getting a star like this, of the level of, some of the bigger names they got in the first 20 years of the show, when they used to have the most popular shows on television and their stars come on, was kind of stunning and amazing. And, before we get into our thoughts from the panelists, I just want to say, I was like, it's been a long time. And I spoke to some of our, to one of our interns, Ellis. I asked him, I said, can you go back and tell me some of the names of the people from the beginnings of the show that hosted during the primes of major TV shows? And Ted Danson hosting during Cheers, Ed O'Neill Married with Children, Fred Savage during the Wonder Years, Roseanne during Roseanne, Jerry Seinfeld during Seinfeld, all of the Friends stars, I think except for Matt LeBlanc, almost everybody, when you had a big show on TV, George Clooney hosted during ER, this is Bob Saget, Full House. This was everywhere, during the first 20, 25 years of the show. And I feel like we got away from that. And how cool is it now to see everyone's obsessed with this big star and you got him on the show to host? So Sean, what do you think about the decision to book Pedro Pascal?
Oh, I enjoyed him. I had to research him again, to be honest, because I knew his face somewhere, and I went back to Game of Thrones. Loved him in Game of Thrones. That was dirty what the Mountain did to him in Game of Thrones, man. You son of a gun. But I really enjoyed him in that. I haven't seen The Last of Us yet. I'm ashamed, but I really enjoy. Is there somebody on the show that looks like me? Is there a light-skinned or a Puerto Rican-looking black guy on the show or something? Because somebody said congratulations for the show, and I'm like, but he was being sincere. He thought I was on that show. Maybe it was an extra that looked like me or something like that. Anyway, I want to go see it just for that reason, for sure. But I enjoyed him, man. I thought he was a lot of fun. I didn't know what to expect from him, and I could tell the cast enjoyed him being there. And yeah, man, I'm excited to talk about him more.
Yeah, absolutely. Morgan, what about you? Do you know of Pedro Pascal? Were you excited to get him on the show? Do you guys get Morgan? I don't have her audio.
No, I'm not here.
Oh, Morgan, we lost your audio. Maybe just hop out of StreamYard and come back in, and then we'll bring you back onto the show, and I'll head over to Haynes right now for his thoughts on Pedro Pascal. So, Haynes, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we've talked about, in the last couple of years is it seems like SNL has sometimes struggled to really get the biggest names out there compared to, what they've been able to do sometimes in the past. So this is pretty much as big a name as you can get right now. He's just been in so much the last few years. And I was very late to Game of Thrones. I actually didn't watch it until the summer before season 7 was coming out. And I watched all 6 seasons, leading up to that. So I actually knew Pedro Pascal first. Listen, I love Game of Thrones. It just took me a minute to get around to it. But I loved him first in Narcos was the first thing that I remembered him in. And he was excellent in that. And he's been excellent in everything else. I am watching Last of Us. I'm only 2 episodes in, so no spoilers, please.
Yeah, we don't do spoilers of other shows on this show, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, thank you. But we're talking about getting, just a name that's absolutely massive right now. So I'm assuming that the draw for this episode was huge.
Oh, I mean, I could see it in even the podcast numbers from this week. I mean, people are just obsessed with Pedro Pascal. But I think the thing is, Haynes, we've been podcasting. This is our 3rd season podcasting together. And there's so many times we're talking about potential hosts on the show. And we're like, wouldn't it be really cool if SNL could get this person? And then they don't. But now it feels like they can again. So on top of the good feel of this run of episodes that seems to be going really well, it's also the booking decisions feel stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that this is a canary in the coal mine in a good way for hosts to come. We'll see.
Absolutely. Morgan, do we have you? Could we have your thoughts on Pedro Pascal? We cannot hear you right now. Maybe exit StreamYard and come on back, and then we'll get you in a little bit. Okay, just hop out. All right, we'll continue with the 3 of us for now, and then hopefully we'll get Morgan's thoughts in a little bit. But let me get, before we dive into the show itself. So yeah, we talked about Pedro Pascal and the decision to book him, but overall thoughts on his performance from this week. Sean, how did you feel like Pedro Pascal did on the show?
Oh, I thought he was great, man. I thought he's definitely came to play, came to have fun, seemed to build a rapport with everybody. You can kind of tell them the lightness and the ability for them to break in certain sketches and feel comfortable breaking with him. It just seemed like it was super fun. It's one of those shows you watch and you're like, man, I wish I was up in there, man, somewhere. So yeah, man, I think he definitely seemed to enjoy himself, and the writing was there for him. So yeah, it was a great performance. The monologue was really good too. I think he definitely opened up to whoever was helping him write that. That was fun to see somebody. Those must have been 90s shows or early 2000s with the Law and Order. Was it the same no, it was the same show, whichever Law and Order it was, but it's two different characters. That was hilarious when he went back to that.
And Haynes, I want to get your thoughts on Pedro's overall performance this week, and we're going to talk about him in the sketches and potentially was he the MVP of this week. But we've had some other hosts as well from Spanish-speaking countries over the years. I think of Sofia Vergara, Salma Hayek, Oscar Isaac last year, Antonio Banderas, Desi Arnaz as well, like all the way back in the day. So there have been a few over the years, but not enough to me. I feel like the diversity of just having people from different countries really brings extra flavor to the show and different perspectives, and I think you got that in some of the sketches this week. So what are your thoughts on that and Pedro's performance?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get a lot of specific like Chile references. I mean, he did tell a story about his parents fleeing Pinochet, which is wild. But I thought what he brought to the table this week was amazing. Particularly, I don't want to give away too much of what we're going to talk about during the show, but there is one sketch in particular that I thought his performance was just amazing. He just seemed to really have the audience in the palm of his hands. But he did great with everything he was in. He nailed all his lines. He wasn't tripping over himself. Sometimes that's something that we see with folks. Obviously, this is a person who, doesn't have trouble with that kind of stuff. We know that SNL is a show where, they're reading from cards the whole time because lines get changed literally 15 minutes before the show is going on. I didn't ever hear him, flub or stumble. So he was like very technically sound. And then also he had the nuance to get all the laughs in all the characters. So I thought it was a very good performance.
Yeah, and I'll say that the other aspect is like when you do something like this, where you bring in, somebody from a Spanish-speaking country, let's say, and then what happens is like New York City, which is a melting pot, and you end up having more people interested in going to see Saturday Night Live. So you could hear it in the monologue. I think we talked on Saturday a little bit about it as well. Whenever Pedro was speaking a little bit of Spanish, you got to hear the audience sort of like understand what he was saying, and like that's fun, right? Because then people are like, oh my god, I love Pedro Pascal, I want to go see Saturday Night Live this week. So I think it adds to a fun aspect of the show, which is having a diverse audience there as well reacting to the sketches. So Morgan, I believe we have you back now, so let's just test this out. What were your thoughts on Pedro Pascal this week and the decision to book him?
Hello, can everyone hear me?
I can, except you are you're coming in a little robotic. So maybe either try without the AirPods, and we'll come back to you in a little bit. But in the meantime, we'll get into the cold open, just because I know we got a live audience here tonight. I just want to make
we're gonna get you in here, Morgan. We're gonna get you in.
More again.
We're gonna get this working. Take out the AirPods, and we'll come back to you in a minute. But let's dive in to the go ahead, Andrew.
I was just along with what you were saying, that was a moment. You're talking about him speaking Spanish, and that was a moment that really stood out to me. I enjoyed that a big portion of the audience laughed before it was translated, So speaking to what you were saying, plenty of people who understood Spanish there. So it is great having that, that diversity gives us kind of an extra layer of richness. Yeah, exactly.
Was that, absolutely. I know you're a stats guy, John. Was that the most non-English words in a sketch? Do you know that? Let's see what you know, smarty pants.
I would say definitely. I would say no. Actually, no. I know you're joking around with me, but I feel like no. I feel like we've had sketches that are complete either made up languages or something like that. I mean, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I feel like there has been other sketches that probably have more. Haynes, can you remember any?
Yeah, one's called Protective Mom.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll take that one. Yeah. Sure. So that was for sure. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, Morgan. Let's give this one more shot to see if we can get you on and hear from you tonight.
Hello, everybody.
There you go. Great. All right, Morgan. Tell us your thoughts on Pedro Pascal before we dive into the show.
All right. So I started watching The Last of Us, and I honestly think that he's amazing in it, and you can just tell he's a great actor. I don't love the concept of the show. We don't need another pandemic talk circulating society, but I think he does a great job. And I was actually really excited to hear that he was hosting, just because he has a lot of positive things going on for him. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. And great to get your audio into the show. So thanks, Morgan, for figuring that out with us. All right, let's dive into the cold open from this week, the way we usually start our show. And this was a cold open all to do with the Chinese surveillance balloon that has entered the US airways, as people were like, what is this? What are they surveilling? And there was so many balloon jokes over the week. And ultimately, the decision for Biden to shoot down the balloon on the Carolina coast, of course, the Chinese were like, it's just a weather balloon. But people were fascinated. And ultimately, this ended up being like not so serious of a thing, I think. I mean, the debris didn't hurt anybody. This was like a fun political story. And I feel like, Sean, given all of the serious nature of politics over the last few years, it was so refreshing for SNL to have a political topic to deal with where they could just go and play with it and have some fun. And that's what we got this week with Bowen Yang playing the balloon. And then, of course, you had Chloe Fineman and Keaton Thompson as commentators on this as well. But this was a really great cold open for me personally. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Obviously I'm getting all my news from Instagram, like most people. So it seemed like all the memes I saw was like it was a big deal and serious, and we're about to go to war with China, which I don't know if that's not true anymore, but maybe it is. Who knows? But yeah, it was really cool to see that angle taken. I even saw CBS News this morning. I forgot the lady's name. She's Oprah's friend. I forgot her name. But she was the anchor there. She was talking about the joke. She said, and SNL was making the joke about it, how they just popped a balloon. I don't know if that's what they're saying. When you satirize something, you're not saying that the thing isn't serious or it can't be serious, but they were having fun with the angle that it was a balloon. Not that it was, maybe, some people could take it too far and say that, they were trying to say it doesn't matter in society, but I think they did a great job just having fun with what could be an otherwise serious topic.
Yeah, for sure. I think we did have some fun with this. I loved, we knew we were going to get some balloon jokes, but there was a couple that really stood out to me. I'll play those for the audience right now.
Our West Coast anti-balloon defense system, the Seattle Space Needle.
I thought that was good, and I thought that was clever. And then, Bowen obviously was going to be, have a lot of fun with this, and he was like,
"Can't believe I'm Joe's Osama."
In reference to them finally getting the balloon. So I thought this was great. I thought Bowen was fantastic in this, and you would expect Bowen to probably play some type of object given his experience playing the spotted lanternfly or the iceberg. Morgan, how did you enjoy this week's cold open?
Right in the beginning, I was like, oh no, another political news anchor type cold open. But then when they started to transition and talk about the balloon, and then you see Bowen, I was like automatically more drawn in there. I personally love Bowen. I think he's like one of my favorites currently. And I just think he's hilarious. The way he delivers everything, like all of those funny references that you just played back, he just delivers it so great. And I think he really made it like funny and comical. I mean, even though it's like it is a political issue and governments are spying, whatever, but they made it a great kind of like, I don't even know. I just thought it was hilarious. I liked all the references he was making.
Yeah, I thought this was good. And Haynes, what the funny thing was is like I saw a good amount of friends and family yesterday, and they were talking about SNL, and of course not everybody knows like how into the show I am, but they're like, did you see the bit where that guy was playing the balloon? And I was like, yeah, of course. And I thought it was so funny because I had this realization, like I didn't even think on Saturday night once about the fact that Bowen Yang has family that emigrated from China. Like, I didn't even think about the connection between Bowen Yang being like Chinese to the fact that he was playing the Chinese balloon. I only thought about the fact that Bowen Yang plays objects, and like, how cool is that? Like, isn't that crazy that we got to that point? So, how would you think?
So, okay, that's important. The thing about the objects is important because it's just kind of one of my favorite things in writing. I love to see objects like personified like that. And like Fish is my favorite band. You've heard me mention that from time to time. Part of the reason I love their songwriting so much is Tom Marshall, a lyricist. He'll write a song called Bouncing Around the Room. It's like the perspective of a sound as it's bouncing around the room. Part of what I loved about Breaking Bad was Vince Gilligan would shoot a lot of shots from the perspective of inanimate objects. You'd see something carried, like the gas can being carried, and you're seeing everything from this angle. And that would tell an interesting part of the story or introduce an object. I just love getting inside random physical objects that do not have life. The Titanic thing, the iceberg thing was unbelievable the first time I saw it. I mean, I remember texting you guys that night. I was renting a house at the beach, and I just remember watching this, like staying up by myself watching it and being like, it's unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So when this sketch started, I should have known that Bowen was going to show up as the balloon soon enough. In fact, I think I read someone say earlier this week that Bowen's going to play the balloon. It might have been Monette. She calls everything. Monette, one of our listeners, just gets everything right. It might have been her. Somebody said Bowen's going to play this balloon. Listen, President Xi Jinping says it's just a weather balloon. Our government's saying it's a spy craft. To me, the whole thing is just one big he said, she said.
Yeah.
No laugh for that? No laugh for that pun? Come on.
Sorry, I'm still thinking about you saying I just love getting inside random physical objects that don't have life.
Okay, well, I've wasted my good pun that I like.
No, I'm sorry. That should have got a pop. Wait, that should have got a pop. Did anybody?
Thank you. Thank you for the comedian. Thank you. So when Bowen showed up, I mean, the first part of it was okay. And there were a couple good jokes. Like I did like the Space Needle joke a lot. And it was funny to me too, when Keenan was like, we waited till it was over the coast so it wouldn't fall on anyone or go zzz, 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 and then land on my car, which I thought was funny too. But Bowen obviously was the star of this, and it was just a really great cold open. Cold opens are one of these things that we seem to pick apart a lot, and they get a lot of they take a lot of heat. The cold opens have taken a lot of heat, in the last several years. This, I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for. I mean, I was laughing the whole time, particularly the second half, of course.
I'm going to throw out something, okay? Might eat my words on this. Could be completely wrong. We open up on the Woody Harrelson show, and I'm wrong about this, but I don't think we're getting Biden for the rest of the season. I think that they made a specific decision to move away from JJ playing Biden or Trump now. And I think my hope is that for the rest of the spring, for the rest of the second half of 48, because we're going to obviously get into debate mode, coming up into 49 into 50, it's going to be really crazy politically. But I think we're in that sweet spot right now where unless something happens like very specifically to Biden or, with Biden, that they're going to do everything they can to avoid putting the JJ impression because they're letting him loose in other areas now. Haynes, what do you think of that?
I love seeing him be let loose in other areas. There's something that I hope we get to talk about later on in the episode that was very funny from him. To me, that's very reasonable. This prediction that you're making, it's reasonable. Certainly one of the things that I've noticed is, we don't see as much of him. I mean, he's getting around. We don't see as much of him as we did when he first came on the show. They were just hammering us with the Trump, and it's an unbelievable impression. So to me, it's reasonable that we're gonna back away from that a little bit. But if Joe Biden's still the president, occasionally there will be things that are newsworthy that come from his office. So I don't think we've seen the last of that, of course. But I think it's a reasonable. It's not a crazy prediction to say that they may be pulling back from that. And we all want to see his range, right? Like we can see how good he is at doing these characters. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Sean, it sort of feels like they got the real Biden on the show. So now they don't need the fake Biden anymore.
How dare you? How dare you? I want more. I want more.
Okay.
I want more Trump. I want more Biden. And that was, I think Andrew's right, man. That was so safe as a prediction. It's all, unless something happens, then you have an out. No, say it, John. Say that there's no more Biden. Just take a stand. If you're gonna take a stand, man, don't make a reasonable statement like that. Unless something happens in the news with the president, we're not gonna say. Of course, okay, maybe not. If nothing happens where the president is in the news, then maybe not. But damn it, he's so good.
I'm gonna stand. No, I'm standing strong on the fact that I think they're avoiding
Where's
it
your
if
money?
they can. Yeah.
How much money? How much money? Put money up. Come on.
My Canadian
$20
dollars don't mean as much to you people.
Oh yeah, you putting up 20 Canadian dollars.
You people.
Well, hey, where you going? It's Black History Month, damn it. No, I'm sorry.
Morgan, save me. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's a great prediction. I agree with like what most of you guys are saying. Like, if something is going to happen in the news or something is worth talking about, they'll bring him in, obviously, to either do Biden or Trump. But I think for now, I think it's good that they're switching it up, obviously, and utilizing other people for other areas, including JAJ, but we will see, and I'm excited to see if your prediction comes true.
All right, well, let's go forward from there into the sketches from the night that we have to talk about. So, Sean, where are you going to kick us off?
Oh yeah, we got to start with big Hollywood. Is it Big Hollywood Quiz?
It
Hollywood Quiz time. Big Hollywood Quiz time. You know what I loved about this sketch, man? It was, and you know, John, I'm not a big fan of the game show. Just because the game is built in, it's very easy to write, right? But this one, for me, I don't know. I'm really interested in seeing if it had the same effect on you guys. It felt like I was playing too, because I don't know how they knew that I wouldn't know any of this stuff. I don't watch a lot of TV anyway, so I figured this sketch was for me, but it seemed like the audience was into it. Everybody realized that there's so much spread out, I guess, media or whatever it is, so many movies out or so many streaming platforms that there are no big time movies anymore. There are no big time shows that everybody just knows. So I feel like it hit on that idea, and it's real risky because that could have easily, I don't know if it didn't hit for anybody. That's why I'm really curious. Maybe Morgan's a lot younger than me. Maybe she might have known all these things and it wasn't funny at all. I'd be so interested to hear somebody's perspective from that angle. Maybe they were like, I don't get any of this. But for me, I was like, yeah, nobody's, everybody knows those, like Friends or whatever the shows that they started off with in the early 90s. Everybody knew the shows, the big time shows from the early 2000s, but Apple TV shows or the biggest Netflix show, like do they substantiate that? Like, do they have to show their numbers now? Because I know there was a time when Netflix didn't really have to share their information like that. So they can just say something's the biggest show and nobody's watching it. I don't know. It seemed like that's what I loved about it, that it hit on that game and that the game was risky. And but it seemed to work. The audience was with me. Or maybe the audience is old too. Maybe the audience at SNL didn't know, but maybe younger people do. I'd love to hear you guys, your opinion on it.
Look, this is a fascinating sketch, right? Because the premise is interesting. And I think the most interesting part of it is that the person who is hosting the show is on the biggest TV show right now. So the irony that they're trying to make a point about people not knowing the biggest properties or many of the properties that are happening now because there's too many of them is an interesting one, given that Pedro Pascal was hosting. Saying all of that, to your point, Sean, I want to go to Morgan on this because I know, Morgan, how tapped in you are to pop culture. And I'm curious if you find yourself having trouble keeping up, because I know that for me, I'm like, I don't even know like how to handle everything and get myself aware of what's going on going into these podcasts that I'm even doing.
No, yeah, like at first, I was excited because I was like, oh, I'm gonna play along with this game show also because I do know a lot about movies and TV and pop culture, even from like decades ago. And when they started like saying some of them, I honestly didn't know a lot of them, and I was really shocked. And I knew like the Netflix one that they were talking about, like Ginny and Georgia.
I
And I think there was,
Actually,
like-
I think it was this.
Ginny and Juice.
That's so funny.
I think that was like the only one that I really like knew though, which was kind of frustrating. Like, yeah, it was like a lot. And like John, like you said, like they were talking to someone that is in a lot of TV and movie and kind of like criticizing all of the not criticizing the platforms, but like there is a lot out there and it does get confusing. So I was confused also, but I was just in for it and was just trying to keep up with it also. Yeah, being honest.
I wonder what makes you guys know something, because I know Last of Us is big because my mama said something on Facebook. That's how I knew it was big. And it's on HBO Max, right? You know,
That's the oldest thing I've ever heard anyone say.
Yeah,
that my mama
learned-
posted it.
That you learned
On Facebook.
about something from a mom on Facebook.
But mom on Facebook. But now that's how I know it's big. That's how I know. Here's how you know, like somebody in the NBA. I'm sorry, I always go to the NBA, John. But this is how you know somebody in the NBA is a superstar, because somebody in Latin America who doesn't watch, or maybe someplace where basketball is not big and they're not a fan, they know who LeBron James is, or they know where, you know what I mean? There's only certain superstars in sports. Everybody knows Ronaldo, even though I don't watch soccer, right? But like when The Last of Us, everybody, I knew it was big because I just saw it all over like different feeds and people sharing stuff. How do you know something's big? I never heard of Ginny and Georgie or any of the Apple TV stuff. How do you guys substantiate that something's big now?
Well, can I say before you jump in, I think that there's a few ways. One is like, first of all, HBO has established themselves as having like the greatest television ever. Like that's their branding, right? So when they put out and promote a show, it's like supposed to be seen as like a television event, which is something that doesn't happen anymore. And Game of Thrones was like probably it was supposed to be like the last big television event. And then for something like Netflix, I think it's like the Netflix homepage, it probably has like the highest reach in the industry. It's like whatever it says, like whatever is number one on Netflix right now, like is supposed to be like the biggest show out there. So I think it's fascinating to talk about this question, which is like, how do you know? And I think for me, it's a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of like, hey, have you heard about this? And then it takes a little while, and then eventually it's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna get around to watching The White Lotus. You know, like it takes a while. Yeah. Hey, Haynes, do you want to jump in?
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, well, the phenomenon that they're exploring, I think, is one that's well documented. My aunt and a few of her colleagues kind of pioneered the academic TV analysis a few decades ago. So she teaches a course, just where kids like study television and stuff. And she's been talking for years about how challenging it is to curate a curriculum when it's hard to tell what everybody's watching and interested in the public. There's just so much content. So I think this is something we've all experienced. And so that's a fun, it's relevant. So it's a good topic to take on. My only issue with the sketch was that, I don't know, I just didn't get enough laughs out of it. I thought it was one of the weaker sketches of the night. And that surprised me because Brian Tucker he writes great game show sketches. But for some reason, this one just like wasn't hitting that much for me. I understood the concept. I understood that, I think maybe we were all supposed to be a little out of the loop at times. I don't know who Rose Bidenborough is, or, when Ego said career, talking about that person, like, I don't know who that person, I admit, I don't know. I don't know who that actor is. But I just wasn't a huge fan of the sketch in general. The premise was fine. I just didn't get enough laughs out of it. To me, it's not one I'll remember.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think what they were trying to go for a little bit was like Bowen shaming the contestants a little bit, where he was going like,
Last days of Ptolemy Gray.
Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding me.
I'm totally serious.
like the Bowen shaming the contestants, I think was the what was supposed to be the laughs, was the like him insulting them and being like,
That was 20 years ago.
like that's the type of thing where he was like really trying to go at them. And I think maybe Haynes, would you enjoy this if he was more biting?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if he was a little harsher, if we had just a real mean, if he took on a little bit of that sinister Bill Hader, during the what's that name sketch, just really, really burning these people. Yeah, maybe that would have played it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective to look at it. And I think, Sean, the more I think about your question, because it is a very fascinating, sociological question about how do we end up, what is the reason in this society where you can watch so much content? How do you choose to watch the thing that is the big thing right now? And I think a lot of it has to do with what, is popularly known as FOMO. And I have crazy FOMO, like the fear of missing out. Like, I don't like going somewhere and then people are talking about this thing that I don't know what that's about. And I think that's part of the reason why people watch live sports, because it's like, I want to know what people are talking about in that case. If they don't love the sport, they're still going to watch it anyway. So I think FOMO is a very clear reason why people try and get back together in this dissimulated society.
Yeah, and I feel you guys. I mean, I guess you guys want to laugh when you watch SNL. I don't know. I was trying to make some type of. I don't need laughs. I need smart. That was smart shit. That made me think. I don't need to laugh the whole damn time I watch SNL. I want to think. Damn it.
We all have a reason for being on the show tonight, so you gotta play your part, Sean.
You guys want to get laughs and shit. It's SNL. Damn it, make me think.
But let me just ask one more question before we move on, Sean, which is the reason that you chose the sketch and the reason you wanted to talk about it was because you really felt like this was a strong sketch?
No, I felt connected to it. I think just the idea, honestly, I don't watch a lot of television. So it seemed to validate something in me. I'm usually performing live and I watch a lot of live things, live theater and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I always feel out of the loop. I'm not, whenever anything comes out, I always watch it a little bit after. Even Game of Thrones, I did get into it kind of late when the Red Wedding happened, and I started watching it backwards and then again. So yeah, everything. It just validated me as a person. It was important to me. That's what that sketch was. It made me feel like there was people in society, including that audience, because I heard that felt like a good. When I listened for the audience sometimes, when I listen back to this, watch the sketch over again, and there seemed to be a rhythm with the laughs and a good pause. I think when you hear a good stand-up set or a good, really anything, a play or an improv performance, when you hear that the audience is hanging on to the next, like, what is it? Like, nobody knew. Nobody would know the things that they weren't supposed to know when they weren't supposed to know it, and then the thing would hit when it was supposed to. Go back and listen to those laughs, damn it. Don't you? Yeah, I'm sorry. I hate being wrong. Maybe you're right, Andy. Maybe, I don't know.
Look, maybe the new, and there's nothing wrong with liking it, maybe the new FOMO is finding other people who also don't know what's going on, and then you have other people to connect with that on. So
I want you to know, I took that personally, and I'm going to attack your sketch, Andy, so I can't wait to hate whatever sketch you picked.
That
so
sounds great.
let's keep the show moving. So let's shit all over Andy Haynes. I'm sorry.
All right, let's coming right up. But first, let's head over to Morgan for the sketch that she would like to talk about. So Morgan, where are you going to take us?
Wait, did all of you watch The Last of Us yet?
No.
I watched it on 2X to catch up in time for Pedro Pascal hosting Saturday Night Live.
I've watched 2 episodes.
Yeah, no spoilers. Yeah.
Zero.
Okay, so the reason why I'm choosing to talk about the Mario sketch was, we talked about the show, The Last of Us is based on an old video game. So, yeah, here we go. Mario, okay, so the whole sketch itself, did look like The Last of Us. I was very, very impressed just visually how they shot this. I thought it was amazing. I don't know if it was green screens or what. It had to be green screen. But the way that visually it was at first, I was just like, wow, that they put a lot of effort into this. And then right off the bat, it was getting into The Last of Us. And then all of a sudden we see Mario. He says, "It's me, Mario." I thought it was really awesome that he was the one playing the main the other main game character in this, and how they kind of translated it all to Mario's world with all of the other characters and kind of the storyline. But I just thought it was very well done. And I mean, it was basically like The Last of Us, just Mario Nintendo world, which was really cool, honestly. But just all of them being their own characters. There's some funny like one-liners in there also. But I just was super impressed on it, and I thought it was really well done. So I'm excited to hear what everyone else has to say.
Yeah, I think impressed was the key word here. I mean, like, how could you not be with what you saw and what the team put together? I mean, everything gets put together in such a short period of time. The fact that the VFX team, the editing team, like everybody who works in the film unit, make sure to sign that petition, by the way, if you want to support the film unit as they're looking for a new contract. So support to our friends in the film unit. But even I was talking to some people from the film unit yesterday online, and they were telling me just like how they had like one extra day to work on this because they knew that this was a concept that they wanted to work on this week. So they're like, let's get started. And they were working on this to the very last minute, basically up until showtime to get this. Even between dress and air, they like still fix some stuff in this because it's like basically like a 3-minute feature film almost, or movie preview, like the way that you would look at it. And it was stunning. Now, from a sketch perspective, I don't know that it hit the beats of some of the other sketches. I think a lot of people were comparing this to the on Saturday to the David Harbour Oscar the Grouch Sesame Street one. I know last year they also did there was the Bel Air one that they did as well, which was in January as well. So I think like this isn't a so novel in terms of the concept of the sketch, but the execution was really fascinating to get to see. So Haynes, I'm going to go to you on this one. How do you feel about what you saw from new video game series Mario?
Well, it felt very Mikey and Streeter. Like you could tell that they wrote this, that dark twist, on these fun things. And it certainly did have a lot of similarity to, the Oscar sketch with David Harbour, which was better than this. I mean, that's going to be like a classic. This was fun. It was fun, but like you're saying, I mean, I wasn't like crying, laughing the whole time. There's certainly a lot of jokes there. Anytime you take a situation and then you just put it into another universe and you're just doing translation A to B, translation A to B, there's a lot to mine there. So, there were jokes. I didn't know where it was going at first. When they said Rainbow Road, that sounded so familiar to me. But because a lot of us have spent a lot of time. If you were in college in like the early 2000s or something, you probably played a lot of Mario Kart. It's just like everybody was doing it.
I feel like even the late 2000s.
Yeah,
like I feel
maybe,
like I played it a lot in summer camp.
Yeah, it was popular for quite a while, like a decade or more. People were just playing this game all the time. So when they said they got to get a package down across Rainbow Road, I was like, why does that sound so familiar to me? And then of course we cut to Pedro Pascal as Mario when he starts into that it's a me Mario. But listen, I love taking these fun things and flipping them on their head and making a dark version of it. Sometimes I have even done that just as a writing exercise. Like if I went through a screenwriting phase several years ago where I was like trying to write like 10 log lines a day. And lots of times I'll write a log line and then just go and then write the opposite of that. Like take this person and put them in the exact opposite situation and try and opposite everything that's going to be in this story. And so I think it's fun when we see these happy, game type characters or anything from that kind of stuff in life and then turn it on its head in this dark way. It's fun. Yeah, but as you said, to me, it was just funny. I don't think it'll be one we necessarily remember forever, at least not as well as the Oscar sketch.
Well, here's the problem, right? And like I want people to understand, because I think this is going to be an extremely popular sketch that's going to go. It already has gone viral, but it will continue to for months and months. People are going to watch this sketch, and I want people to understand that we're not shitting on like anything the way it looks or the way it was executed. It's really from a conceptual perspective, because Mikey and Streeter, and for what it's worth, they wrote this, and I think they've done some really good work this season. But I think that when you have a sketch where the majority of the sketch is you as an audience member asking yourself, okay, we know we're going to see other Mario characters. Which cast member and who is going to play that character? That's it, right? Like, it's like, we're going to turn around every corner and now Keenan's playing Bowser, or now Bowen's playing Yoshi, and whatever. And like, the butt of most of the jokes is the person is playing the character. And there's just not enough meat on the bone, I think, Sean, for that to be interesting enough for this to carry on, beyond the fact that you're like, oh, cool. It's kind of like The Last of Us as a plot line mixed with Mario Kart, and like there's some Easter eggs in there. But beyond that, like, I just wish it like had more of a story arc that was interesting, as opposed to being like, this is what this is.
Right. Yeah, I think it definitely relied heavily on the post part of it. The writing was, once you know it's Mario, then it doesn't really escalate after that. That's the joke. But yeah, I think, I enjoyed seeing how a different lens can change an entire story. That's fun. There's an improv game where you'll have a scene, just an open scene, and then somebody will yell, they'll do it in the style of Michael Bay. And then, of course, whatever, or do it in the style of Christopher Nolan or whatever. And you just feel the ominousness. You take a story like Mario and put a different type of lens on it, as you would The Last of Us. I've never seen The Last of Us, but yeah, it changes everything. And but the jokes, didn't escalate. They couldn't. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need more flat writing in order to showcase what they're trying to showcase, which is the editing, which is what they knew would go viral. Sometimes you don't need too many, hats on it, because it may distract from what we're trying to do, which is make something that looks dope. I've seen people like be more focused on that. Not to say that I like to write. I like to see escalation in writing and all that. But maybe this is what they were trying to do, is just like make something that looks dope.
I mean, it did look amazing. It looked amazing. And
Look
to comment on what,
no,
to comment on what both of you guys were saying, of course the production was insane. No, it didn't have escalation, but I do think there's a lot of opportunity anytime you take a whole universe and switch it to the whole universe, because you can make jokes. You get to make jokes about each one of the characters, Mario and Luigi and the princess and Yoshi. But to speak to what John was saying, introducing a little more unique narrative, like maybe if we had, like, I got a good hard laugh out of Bowen, being Yoshi and then being like, I'm bisexual, like throwing that in there. So now we're creating more story, right? And so maybe if we had leaned into more stuff like that, like, could have taken us on a wilder ride. But God, what just masterful production! Can you imagine having these resources at your hands? Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And I think that, this, let me play this line from the sketch.
You can dodge it!
No, it's red.
In reference to the red shell knocking off Marcelo, like off the Mario Kart, which I think was that was so great. And that was the thing where I was like, what I think I was expecting, and again, not every sketch has to hit my expectations, but what I would have liked, to all of our points, is that like he falls off Rainbow Road, and then it's a discovery of, like, let's be real, The Last of Us is a very dark show. Like, then Marcelo as Toad is dead, and then like, what's the reaction to that? And like, people are dying because that's the apocalyptic universe they're making fun of. So I just wish they were went one step more, a little bit, and I think I would have gotten a lot more pleasure out of something like this. But Morgan, since this is the sketch that you brought to us to talk about, I want to give you the last word on it. So anything on any of our comments or the sketch itself?
I love all of your opinions. I mean, I kind of agree with all of them. I agree that there could have been more expanding to the storyline and with the characters, but also I don't think they were focusing on that as much. Like Sean was saying, they're totally focusing on the production and the look of it. So that's why I think it won me over. Also, I feel like, like a lot of people can relate to this. Like we said, so many people have played Mario games from so many different eras. I mean, they're still so popular. So I mean, this can connect to a lot of people. I wanted more. I wanted more to the storyline. Like if that was a show, I would watch it. But I agree with what everyone is saying, and claps to the production team on that one for sure.
For sure. All props to the production team there. All right, Haynes, brace yourself because Sean's watching you as you talk about the sketch that you would like us to dive deep into.
Oh, it better be good. It better be good.
Sean, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about Wing Pit, because Wing Pit was unstoppable. This was so good. So basically we have a pre-tape, parody for a commercial of a Wingstop Buffalo Brothers type company that's going to deliver wings. And so it's you mentioned escalation a few minutes ago, Sean. This is a great example of escalation that built just really, really well. So we come in, right, and Heidi is the salesperson in the commercial, and so they're hyping up wings for the big party. They'll be delivered just in time, and here are the options we have. We got the 12 wings, we got 24 wings, we got 48 wings, and they're getting bigger and bigger. And then that's when we start getting the jokes in, as we start getting up to a few buckets of wings. And now they come with so you get a second bucket of wings, and it comes with 5 ethnically troubling sauces and a gallon of ranch for just $89.99. So that the ethnically troubling sausage got that line definitely got me with the Jamaican Me Crazy. And what was the other one?
I don't know.
I don't remember what the other one was. But the second one was Jamaican Me Crazy. Yeah. So very funny line. And then we start really pouring it on. And honestly, they said Tray of Tears. On the first watch, I thought they called it the Trail of Tears. I really thought she called it Trail of Tears. And that just takes it to a level that's almost too dark. Like that's like that would be going too far. And maybe Tray of Tears is supposed to sound like Trail of Tears. That's what it sounded to me like the first time. I had to watch it the second time. And of course, you're getting like a kiddie pool of ranch. When they said you got to try our hard slurry chicken smoothie, I gagged at the same time as Longfellow's character. Like that was disgusting. And so we're piling on, and now it's 3,000 wings in a black contractor bag thrown straight through your window just in time for kickoff. And
wrecked Molly.
Yeah. And then of course Keenan being like, yeah, and this started a few levels back, after the 2 buckets of chicken wings, Pedro's character says, like, seriously, but with genuine, like, appreciation, like, thank you, but I think we have enough now. Like he sounds like the way he would say thank you to someone who just gives him like a dumb comment about his TV show that he's heard 1,000 times. Like he's trying to be really generous. But now he's got to get on with the rest of his life. And so at this point, Keenan's just like, if you do not leave, I'm calling the police. And of course, then we get we own the police. We make millions in donations so we can operate with total immunity. And then that's when we get the Chick Noble, which I made a reference to on Twitter tonight, talking about this show. 5,000 wings, 10,000 beaks, which was a line that just got a huge laugh out of me. 10,000 beaks, so gross, so funny. And I love that we take it that far, that we got to that level before they make a really great observation, which is no order of wings has ever come with by any measure, substantial amount of celery. It's always 2 pathetic little pieces of celery or carrot that come on the side. You're getting this massive plate of meat. And I guess they technically giving you enough roughage to maybe prevent the diarrhea, but now we're getting 5,000 wings. You get two little sticks of celery. Listen, that's what vegetables are for, man. Not just nutrients. They give you, well-rounded bowels. I
did not think that was going to come up tonight.
So I love that they took it to that point before they made, before they made that really great observation. And then, I don't know what else to say about it. The escalation was just prime, and so it was very dumb and funny. But to me, this has potential to be a classic. Like this is one that had a few, gross enough laugh out loud moments that we could see it on a clip show down the road. We'll see. We'll see how the public handles it. But to me, it had that kind of vibe.
Yeah, let me just say like a couple other great moments from this. I think you mentioned it briefly, but Heidi Gardner's character and the voice that she was using, where she was like, "We're gonna bring even more stuff," and then she was like, just like the way she was doing that with her voice was so great and a great contrast to JJ as the regular voiceover. But then in the end, I love this moment where they're like, "Why are you doing this?" And they're like, "To honor Chirac, the chicken god of death, here to save the souls of the chickens you have harmed." Like that was so great. Sean, all right, you ready to rip into Haynes, or did he win you over?
He picked. Come on, he picked an easy one. Yeah, no, that was a good one. Well, you know what? It could have been bad. It could have, because some escalation, because there's what's called lateral moves, where it's like we didn't quite escalate, we just did another move. The only time I feel like they did those good, the best turns, the two best turns was the chicken god at the end, but then we owned the police, because what those things do normally is they're not listening to the people. That's why they keep chugging wings on them, is the game. So they're not listening. But when he says, we're going to call the police, they are listening. Like he goes, we own the police. That response is what jolted me out of the basic like form of just what else can we do with wings? A wing shake, a wing. You can see people do that type of thing in an improv thing live and be just as quick or just as clever. But those turns are where it stands out as good writing, something that somebody worked on, and really, like you said, made a classic piece. Because without those two things, then you're just, also the adding the I guess you'd say the slapstick moment where Molly gets hit, also creates another level. So there's a lot of things coming at, but none of it is distracting from the other thing. It all works together. The physicality of it, even the scene at the top, I'm like, this is a very well done. Everybody, looks like Eagle. It looks like a real Super Bowl party. It's the week of the Super Bowl. Fine, Haynes. Fine. Okay. You did it. All right. It's a good, you picked a safe one. All right.
I picked the silver bullet.
Yeah. Good sketch. You got me this time. I'm going to get you next time. So.
All right, Morgan. That's good. Morgan, let's get your thoughts on Wing Pit.
I was actually laughing the whole time, and my mom and I kept rewinding it to rewatch, because it was moving quick. Like every evolution of it was quick, and we were laughing so hard that we were missing it, so we just kept rewinding it, and every time I was dying. I mean, it's a great week that they chose to do this. Obviously, the Super Bowl. I mean, this video is going to be circulated around so much, and it's probably going to be played at all the Super Bowl parties, which will be really fun. But I mean, it sounded at first, it just sounded like a classic commercial I was seeing on TV. But the escalation was everything, and they were really creative about it. I don't think it was stale or repetitive, honestly. Each evolution was different. I was laughing so hard when the plane was flying and they were dumping the ranch, and then I was cracking up when they came in with a forklift full of chicken. Just the little things made it really funny, and definitely one of my favorites, honestly.
Yeah, I'll also say I'm the guy that eats the celery and the carrot off of other people's plates. That's me. I'm the carrot guy. So
there's value there. I'm pro. I'm saying there's never enough.
Yeah, I'm the one that's giving Haynes diarrhea because I'm not letting him eat the carrots. On that note, we'll move on to the sketch that I would like to talk about tonight. Wing Pit, great one, all great sketches. But so this is a sketch that I always have a really fun experience when I do something like this, which is a sketch that on Saturday I didn't love, but I rewatched it, and there is an insane amount of hype for Lisa from Temecula, this 10-1 or final sketch of the night, where we have Bowen Yang, Molly Carney, Pedro Pascal, Ego Wodem, and Punky Johnson all out for dinner. And we have Punky Johnson, who's playing Shayna, who brought her sister Lisa out for dinner to meet different people. And this is so weird. And at first I didn't fully get it, but I think on a rewatch, and people were like, oh my God, Ego was the most hilarious thing in the entire world here. But on a rewatch, I found it really interesting because basically the game of the sketch is Ego is kind of passive aggressive and doesn't like is just like the weird in the normal group. And then she orders a steak that she's sent back to the kitchen 3 times now that it is so charred she can't even cut it. And the idea is like she's going to try and cut it, but like while she's doing it, there are people who are under the table shaking the table. So part of the game of the sketch is like to force break people in a sketch. And if you've heard me talk about this before, I've always felt that people breaking in a sketch is not funny. People trying not to break is funny. So the question is here, did it capture the magic? And I think they went part way here. I think some of them were really trying not to break, and I think that where there were some laughs. But I think the magic here is Ego Wodem, who we haven't talked a lot about this season as far as having some big moments. I think probably the last really big moment for Ego was the classroom sketch at the end of the Megan Thee Stallion episode, all the way back at the beginning of the season. But here we have Ego, who's doing her very best to get laughs out of everyone else, really trying to force them to do that. And it, goes back to the whole, analysis of like the Mulaney changing the cue cards on the Stefan thing to try and get Bill Hader to laugh. Here you have on screen Ego trying her best. And I think it's the improvisation of like her chair falling and putting her foot up on the table and then really like trying to do that stuff, or some of the lines she was saying, like I laughed. I watched the sketch a few more times to really get it, but like really the way she says here, I'm gonna play a few lines.
This steak is bussin'.
She said this steak is bussin', or I'm
about to tear this thing up.
As she's going at it, the waiters come over, ask if everything is okay. She says,
oh, because we black.
Where she gets the waiters. And then finally, the line that keeps getting me going, absolutely laughing, is she yells,
cook my meat.
But the way she says, cook my meat, it was so great. And I think it was just like, that was so fun to me because I really felt like Ego got a chance here in a sketch that we haven't seen all season to really play and show how much of a star she can be. So I think that this sketch sort of won me over on second and third watch. And I love it when a sketch can do that and sort of change my perspective on it. Sean, how did you feel about this game we had at the end of the night, which was pure pandemonium?
Yeah, and it was a good, I thought it was fun how they faked the game, that you thought the game was going to be that Pedro Pascal's character is coming on to her, like, that whole thing where she was like, oh, your man need to tone it down with the coming on to me. And then the buttons, because then you could see that the button would be like, maybe, he is coming on to her or something like that. Like that's the turn, but that had nothing to do with anything. That was to make me think that that's what they were about to hit on. And then it's all about cutting this rough ass meat. Which is so fun because are you familiar with that in the Black community? That people, we like well done food. Like, is that?
Can you? Yeah. So fill us in on that. Like, I feel like that.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be like a known for everybody that's how it is?
Yeah. You know what? I've recently been trying medium. Okay. I've been getting a little more. I'm moving up in the world, but we're growing up. Yeah. Black people, we like our stuff well done, cooked. We don't trust raw meats or any of that. I've never had sushi. My wife likes it. But anything that ain't cooked, we scared of it, man. So that's very funny from that perspective. But you didn't even have to understand that to get this lady. Even if all you understood was she had a tough-ass piece of meat and she's trying to cut it. I don't know what they were doing under the table. I think they did something because when he first started breaking, Pedro did, it was something that happened under the table or something because he literally moved his chair back the second time I watched it. And I think so there was things happening with the, them having fun inside of it. Like, I don't know who was doing that or what they were doing exactly. But yeah, man, it seemed like a lot of fun. And they kept it together enough to still, get to those different buttons for Ego. So I liked it, man. I really enjoyed that they faked me out.
Yeah, Morgan, how did you feel about it when you're watching it live? Did it work for you on the first watch, or is this something that needed to click a little bit later?
I watched it once, and for me, I love when they break character. Like, my sisters and I would go on YouTube and literally watch SNL compilations of when they're breaking. I don't care if they're messing up or it doesn't make sense. If they're breaking, it honestly means that they're all having a good time. They're all connecting together. Obviously they broke because like the sketch was insane, and Ego did a great job holding it together, even though she was being crazy. But I thought it was really great to end the night with that. It ended on really fun vibes and on a really great note. And I was just like so curious of like what was happening under that table. And I think there was rumors like it was Mikey Day under the table or like something like that. But I'd love to know more of like the behind the scenes of that and like the almost like the writing of that. Because it was super crazy, but I'm happy Ego had her moment and they all had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, one thing I wish was that at the end of the sketch we saw like who was under the table. Like if it was Mikey Day, I think that makes the sketch even better for me. The fact that like at the end of it, I know it's like sort of like considered non-canon. Like once the sketch ends, it's like we're not supposed to think about it. But I think that's an aspect of it that's interesting to me as well. But Haynes, I would love to know your perspective on this. I just think before I get it, I'll say Ego did something in this sketch to me, which I thought I'd love to hear your thoughts on, which is that it's something that I saw like again probably with Will Ferrell or sometimes, but it's like sometimes there's an SNL cast member who plays a character in a sketch and it's one of those things that like I can't look at them without laughing. And like I could only imagine if I was in the room just seeing Ego's face and how she suddenly got into character. Like sometimes your friends do something that you like just connect with and you're like, I cannot look at you right now. And I just felt like that's how everybody was with Ego in that moment. Like she could have done anything and she had the whole room in the palm of her hand, which is a really special characteristic of a performer on the show. And that's pretty rare. So I was impressed with her in this one. How do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And as soon as you started to say Will Ferrell, I knew exactly, what you were going to talk about. It's when they have the whole, they've got everyone in the palm of their hand because they're nowhere near breaking and they're stone faced the whole time. As soon as you started to say that, I just saw like Will Ferrell, holding up the tiny little cell phone to his ear,
Yeah, exactly.
So just like, it's the stuff that, and he's just like dead serious. Like Ego is she's so in it and she's not going to break and she's got them in her hands. She's just
sorry. Another one who reminds me of that Eddie Murphy. Like that's an Eddie thing as well.
Oh yeah.
Also, it's a Rachel Dratch thing for sure. And the Debbie Downer, like every time, like you can't even look at her because she's just so funny.
Yeah. And yeah, it's true. And but occasionally there have been some funny ones. I think about Debbie Downer in particular, where she gives that look to the camera and you can see even she's like about to cry. She's trying so hard to keep a straight face because it's just something so stupid that they just made her character say. But to say, yes, listen, she was awesome in this. It looked like Pedro was the first one to start breaking. And then, other people, he was really trying to keep it. And that wasn't the only sketch he did it in. So he had a few moments like this throughout the night, but I think he really was trying to keep it together. Maybe he wasn't trying as hard in this one as in some of the other, like the doctor sketch, but other people start, trying to keep it together after. And as you said, great point, which I fully agree with, which is that breaking's not funny. Trying not to break is hilarious, So, and there was plenty of that going on. To me, the part that really got me was, and I think this is what broke Punky, was when she drops the steak and you just hear it go like thump, like it's so loud and like you hear it thump on the table and then it falls into her lap and she picks it up and has to keep eating it. Very funny. Also, as I have lived my life, I will say this. I have, I'll like learn things that, okay, so I was aware of this phenomenon that it's popular with some people in the Black community have like real, like we don't want anything undercooked with our meats and stuff. Many times in my life, I have learned about something from the Black community that I knew about that I thought was like a country rural white people thing. So like country white folk want their meat cooked. Like they don't want a medium rare. Listen, I eat rare steak all the time. That's the way I like it. I don't even want a medium rare. I like
what?
Yeah. I know. Listen, and that's what my relatives do to me. All four of my grandparents, well done, extra well done. Like my aunts and uncles, when I tell them when I order a rare steak, that's the look they give me. Yeah. So yeah.
No wonder you're going to the bathroom all the time.
You made such a face when I used the word diarrhea. Now you've brought it up twice. So But anyway, I just I do find, I'll just say from like a sociological perspective, I do find like there's been so many times where I've like learned something in my life that is like that sometimes people view as a black thing, and I'm like, oh shit, I always thought that was like a country white thing. So bringing the world together. Yeah.
Yeah, just like Temecula. I don't know what
like
Temecula has to do. That's hilarious that it's called Temecula's in California, right? Is that the only Temecula? That's the only one I know.
I believe
of.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing significant that I know of about Temecula. That's why it's so interesting that she's from there.
Yeah.
Lisa
Look,
from
the truth is that there were other sketches in the night that I liked more. And I, sometimes we don't always pick the sketches that we like the best on the show. Sometimes we pick the sketches that we need to talk about because, like I said, this sketch has been blowing up everywhere. People are excited about it. People are talking about it. So I really felt like I wanted to give it its due to like dive into it. But let's go around one more time and we'll do quick chats about anything else from the night that we thought would be interesting to bring up. So, Sean, any other moments of the night that you want to touch on?
Before I do want to say big shout out to who is that? Somebody dropped 99-cent. Demi Constantine bought a 99-cent sticker, and I think we should split that 4 ways, John, which I believe is
99 Canadian cents.
Yeah. Oh, is it 99 Canadian cents? So I need 24.75 Canadian cents from you for today. I don't know if we set the record, but thank you, Demi. Keep sending money to John, so you can keep having me on. You're going to get rich. Mess with me, man. I did enjoy the what was it? The doctor one, but I think it could have been awkward if we didn't figure out, if Keenan didn't label that accent as a botched California accent or LA accent. I'm not sure what he said, because I'm like, what's going on here? That seemed like a late night sketch, right? Like a later in the night type of sketch. But yeah, it just got so silly and didn't seem to be like coming at anybody at any point. So I thought that was fun. What was it called, John? I'm sorry.
It was called Waking Up. This is the sketch where Bo and Heidi, Pedro, Keenan, and Sarah are all in a hospital, and Pedro Pascal wakes up from a coma only to have an LA accent.
I had
LA accent. Okay.
I had no idea what that accent was. I kept saying to myself, what is this accent supposed to be? So I'm glad that they clarified that for us. To me, it still, was not one of the best sketches of the night, but at least at some point I figured out what was going on. I did not.
I think it was supposed to be like a Lorraine Newman Sherry style thing, like a Valley Girl. That style, I think that's what they were going for there. That was a very weird sketch. We talked about it a lot on Saturday. I thought it was going somewhere. It didn't end up going, but I did think there was a couple of cute lines there, especially where he's like,
let's just put a pin in that.
I thought that was funny. But that's an interesting one. Morgan, what about you? Anything else from the night you want to touch on?
I really enjoyed, I don't know if he was like a teacher or principal or whatever, but during the presentation where he was, or assembly where he was trying to tell the students that it was inappropriate that they were making TikTok like fan edits of him. I thought that was hilarious, and I'm a TikToker, so like I for sure like see these kinds of videos on my For You page all the time with the funny edits, and I thought it was cool that they were using. You guys know SZA, obviously. She was on the show a couple weeks ago. She was in one of the sketches, The Big Boy, and that Big Boy song blew up on TikTok, and everybody thought it was one of her real songs, but it was really from SNL. So credit to that, and I thought that was cool how they used that in the fan edit. Good connection. But I loved that one. They had really fun Gen Z language references in there, which were great. But yeah, and then obviously Sarah Paulson cameo in there as well.
Was the crumbs things real? Is that a real thing? People no crumbs or whatever it was, Morgan?
Yeah. You eat, eat and left. They really left no crumbs during that sketch. No, like
I didn't know.
All the terms were so funny. They really did their Gen Z research in there, because I mean I wrote down like literally a bunch of them, but yeah, no, really great job to the writers on that one.
I had a lot of fun with all the language. I hope I learned something from that. I'm definitely gonna go out and try and I'm sure I'll misuse one of these terms, but it'll get a laugh. So I'm going for it.
Yeah, Haynes, try this one.
You're our
Yeah, this sketch had its foot on my neck the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Foot is always on our necks.
Hey.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I did like that one for sure. Haynes, what about you? Anything else from the episode you want us to touch on?
I'm allergic to dairy.
Oh, we have to talk about this.
No. Listen, that was funny, but to me, this is maybe my favorite thing from the episode. I wanted to talk about Wing Pit because I think it has that potential to go down as a classic. For some reason, we weren't getting quite as many laughs out of the audience. I don't know if there was just a couple lines that could have been punched home a little bit better, but to me, the character and the writing for, I'm calling him Existential Crisis Phil, was awesome. I really liked all the writing there. I just thought it was a great character. Basically, we've got Punxsutawney Phil, the Groundhog Day groundhog is is basically a apathetic. I'm sorry. Oh yeah,
looking for that bump.
Yeah, exactly. Looking for the bump. Yeah. And he's kind of this apathetic degenerate. I just love the whole thing about him just kind of being worn out on the world. Letting it ride it out is what he tells Michael Che. He asks, things have been rough. How are you going to handle things moving forward? And he just kind of starts. He's questioning his own purpose. It's 2023. I'm a groundhog that predicts the weather. What is the point of me? And he says, he says he's running because it's not like I'm going to do dry January. You know what I mean? Alcohol, the cool way to let your band. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So
killed it.
Yeah, and then making the joke about about the bump, and then lots of jokes about drugs. Just talking about needing to touch the grass and see the grass and smoke the grass. It just had a lot of. We talked about. I talked about loving seeing these fun characters go dark on us, and so obviously that's what we had going on here. He says something like, those top hat people touch me. It's probably why I drink. So we've got those kind of great jokes. Che asks him if he's seen a shadow. He goes, "Oh, I'm seeing shadows everywhere." That's it. And I just loved being in that dark space. And I really liked the joke about, they said the core of the earth has stopped moving. And he's like, "That's for real." He's like, the core of the earth stops moving and they want me to show up to work. I live near the core, I mean, not that close, but when it stopped, I was like, whoa, you guys feel that?
Well, that core joke was a potential preview to potentially one day having Longfellow on Update the way that he delivered that. But also, yeah, this line at the end.
I'm not a bad groundhog. I just like good beaver.
That was good. That was great. The cherry on top. But Sean, do you have any insight from your friend Mikey Longs on this one? I mean, he was great.
I just say, man, it was his birthday, I believe, last week, and we just, I wrote HBD, and he gave me the thumbs up, and that's what's going. Just to let you know that I talk to people who are on SNL, man. So I just had to let y'all know.
Awesome.
It was a white thumbs up, just like his thumb. I imagine he did this and then hit the emoji. It was real. It was real. You know what I mean? He wrote. He said, "My man, I'm his man. You're not his man, Andy. I'm his man. You're not his man, John. You're not his man, Morgan. I'm Michael Longfellow's man. I'm his man." Damn right.
We'll give that to you.
His man, not my wife. I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, let me just touch on one more thing before we wrap up our discussion tonight, which is I have to say the sketch that I liked the most from this episode that we didn't talk about was Protective Mom, and this was the sketch with Marcelo and Chloe and Pedro, and I just want to give it its due just for a second, which is written from the perspective of Marcelo and then Please Don't Destroy and Asher Ward, and I just loved this scene that developed between two cast members and the host, and the host was obviously, having a lot of fun with this one. And, took a really fun turn where, Pedro was like,
so she doesn't like money.
And,
so she's a lesbian.
you know, and like really judgmental. And it's like, to me, this is such a this was so set in reality and from the perspective of a lot of people who are like bringing home their significant others, and then the mother is judgmental, especially you know, when you're talking about somebody who has coming from a different life perspective. She brings home the vegan sliders. And you know, and the back and forth between the Spanish and the English here. I just think this was extremely well written, really well acted, and I think that Marcelo is really you know, for all the praise we're giving to Mikey Longs, and I think Devin had a great episode. I think Marcelo back-to-back weeks gets on sketches, you know, that are written from his, you know, life view, and I think that like that is fantastic for him. So and fantastic for us as well that we get to see that. So I think he's a lock to continue on the show, and I think this was a fantastic sketch for me. All right. Yeah.
Hopefully we get Marcelo on here soon. I'm working on it.
All right.
Hey.
Work on it.
We'll see.
I have a connection.
Wait a minute. If you do that, before I get Mike, we in a fight now. We in a battle. I'm gonna get Michael Long. I didn't know we could do that. I'm getting Michael Longfellow on here. How about that?
The door is open.
And then who you don't like better if we do it? You don't like me more if I get Michael on here first, John?
It's not a competition. We can. All three of you can bring on SNL cast members if you want.
Watch Andy just have Will Ferrell come right from like he's just
Will Ferrell walks into Haynes' screen.
We all blow up.
All right, let's talk about the polls let's talk about the polls from this week that we asked. So one of the big questions that we wanted to know was which was your favorite Bowen object that he did, either the lanternfly or the iceberg, or this week with the balloon, and the iceberg was like a runaway pick, so that still has lasting power from when he did that. So that is number one choice. But then another big question we wanted to know was who was your favorite host so far from 2023? So we have three options to pick from, and that would be Aubrey Plaza, who hosted a couple weeks back, Michael B. Jordan last week, or Pedro Pascal. So three hosts so far. I want to get the panel's choices. Who do you guys think that the audience chose as the number one host from 2023 so far? Sean?
Ooh, I'm gonna go Pascal.
Okay, Morgan, what do you think?
You know, prisoner of the moment and stuff.
I think everyone voted for Pascal, but I voted for Aubrey Plaza.
Interesting. Haynes, who is your best host of 2023 so far, and what do you think the audience said?
I'm saying Aubrey, and I think our very intelligent audience will agree with me.
Interesting. All right, well, let's bring that up on screen for those who are watching with us live on YouTube. And favorite host of 2023, 54% of the audience.
Bam! Bam!
54% of the audience said Pedro Pascal was the number one host from 2023.
Who said it's not a competition? Who said?
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza comes in second with 35%, MVJ in third with 13%. All three were just fantastic hosts this run, but people loving some Pedro Pascal, so that is for sure. All right, next up, we do have our MVP voting this week, so let's put all the contenders on the table. Pedro Pascal was in 9 sketches this week, had a lot of fun with that. Coldplay put in 2 really big performances on the show. They're obviously a longtime staple on the show. Coldplay, Chris Martin has been in a ton of sketches in his SNL career, one of the most appeared musical guests in the history of the show. So great to have him back. Keenan and Bowen both in 6 sketches, Chloe in 5, Heidi in 4, Ego in 4 as well. We had J.A.J. and all Sarah, Marcelo, Molly, Michael, and Devin Walker, all the feature players were in 3 sketches across the board. So a very even show, which is interesting, except for Dismukes, who was shut out this week. But he obviously had a great week last week. So let's get the MVP predictions. We want the top 3 from the week. I'm going to go backwards this time. So Haynes, who do you think the top 3 are for the week?
Top 3 from the week are definitely, it's definitely Pedro and Bowen at the top, and then Ego, I think. I think the audience might pick Pedro. Bowen was amazing. I think the 2 best performances of the night were the balloon and the protective mom. Protective mom just edged it out, and it wasn't. He came out. Obviously, you get a laugh because it's him dressed as a mother, and he's still got his beard and stuff. They didn't have him shave his beard, but that wasn't like what really made it funny. What was funny was how well he played that character. He just really sounded like a kind of a classic judgmental protective mom. The lines, the way he ebbed and flowed with her emotions or that character's emotions. It was the performance of the night. And so he would be my MVP, although Bowen, right there.
Okay, so Pedro, Bowen, then Ego. Morgan, what about you? Who are your top 3 for the week?
I actually agree. I was gonna say like Bowen and Pedro for sure, like tied. I feel like Bowen had a great week and was in a lot. And I think he really nailed the balloon beginning opener. And then obviously I thought Pedro was amazing. He was a really great host in my opinion. And then I would say Ago just because of the last sketch to end the night. So that's what I'm voting.
All right, Sean, do you agree with our bottom two panelists on the screen, or do you have another pick?
Well, since I already won the first one, here's the thing. I know Mama Longfellow watches this show. So I want to shout out Mama Longfellow, Michael's mommy. And because, you know, I mean, I know he was just in 3 sketches, but it was his birthday week. I'm going to go number 1. And if I'm right about this, this is my show now, John. I want you to know that. But Michael Longfellow, then Pedro Pascal, then Bowen Yang. If I'm right about this, I own the SNL Roundtable. It's my show.
All right. You hear that first. We're giving the show over to Sean if he is correct. So let's find out if he's in the top 5. He is not. No. We get Pedro Pascal, 39% takes the MVP award.
Wow.
Ego Wodem, 29% there. So Ego stand. I mean, like I said, it was so popular. People coming out. So you guys got that, nailed that top 3. A different order though. Ego in second. Bowen in third, 13% of the vote. Marcelo Hernandez at 8% of the vote. James Austin Johnson with coming out with the very classic line that I think we're going to be playing for a long time.
I'm allergic to dairy.
That's going to be that's a big one with his little tiny knives. Comes in 5th place. And just for Mama Longfellow, who we appreciate you checking out the show, 6th place for Michael Longfellow this week in the MVP voting, but obviously had a great run. So great to see so many feature players getting some notoriety here in a good way. So great to be able to support them, and hopefully we'll keep this up as we turn our heads to the end of February and the beginning of March. We're really marching on towards the end of the season. It's hard to believe, but 9 episodes left until things wrap up for 48. And we're going to kick things off at the next run with Woody Harrelson joining the 5 Timers Club with musical guest Jack White, also joining his own 5 Timers Club, the White Stripes 3 times, and then Jack White now twice. And Woody Harrelson coming back to the show for the first time since season 45. First hosted the show in 1989 with musical guest David Byrne. That was season 15 of the show. Then again in 1992. And those were pretty much around the same era. And then we had 2014, 2019, and now 2023. So great to have Woody joining the 5 Timers Club. Sean, are you excited for his show?
I love that dude, man. I can't wait to watch. He's just so smooth and fun. You know what I mean? I can't wait to see, man. I'd be surprised if it was a flop, man, because he's just, you never know. Some of these guys, man, they're just so much fun, but I don't think he's been with, who has he worked with in this cast? I think the only people that have been around since the last time Heidi. Were they all newer people when he was there?
So last time he was on the show, he had Heidi and Mikey were still there, Che and Jost, and Chloe and Bowen. It was their first season.
Oh, dang. So you never, I hope he gels with the new folks and has fun.
And Ego as well, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he has a few. Yeah, he has a few, but he obviously has some new people to play with. I'm excited to see what we're going to get from Woody. Morgan, are you a Woody Harrelson person?
I mean, I'm not his biggest fan, but I like him, and I think he's done really well hosting in the past. I'm more excited that, it is his 5 time, and usually for the 5 timers, they always do fun things. They'll either bring out past hosts or past cast members or do a little initiation sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to that to see. And also, it's the end of February, so they have a couple weeks to get it all going. But I think that it's going to be great, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do for sure.
Haynes, what about you? What is your history of watching Woody Harrelson on SNL?
Well, he's been very good every time. I love that he's going to get to join the 5 Timers Club. He deserves it. He's one of those actors that, he's been around for 40 years, and staying in stuff that we watch, every few years. So the longevity of his career is just awesome. He's a hilarious, funny dude. I like his whole aesthetic and his personal life, he seems like a likable, like lovable stoner guy. I don't know if that's true. Maybe he's horribly angry or something. But he seems like a great guy. I've always been a Woody Harrelson fan. Honestly, I don't know even what he's promoting right now. But I'm excited to have him back, and I think he deserves to join the Five Timers Club. And sometimes we get a person, who goes from 0 to 5 in 7 years or something. And then you've got someone that spends their whole lifetime just generations of, or at least a couple generations of folks, have gotten to enjoy what Woody Harrelson's brought to the table. So, our parents before us and maybe if some of us are having kids now, they're old enough to laugh at Woody Harrelson stuff. So it's just great. He's been around a long time, and I'm just very happy to see him get his 5-time, and I think it'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, it's going to be the longest between somebody's first appearance on the show and then them becoming in the Five Timers Club. So
there you go.
Yeah, so that'll be it'll be cool to talk about, and I'm excited to get to see what we're going to get from Woody. One of my favorite Woody memories is in 2014. I think it was season 40 of the show, where he did a campfire song about apples. That one I always got a good chuckle at, and of course, just the memories of him in season 15, watching those shows. He was really great. So I'm happy for him to join the Five Timers Club, and we're going to talk a lot about that coming up later on as we move towards that show over the next few weeks. So let's talk about the schedule that's happening here on the Saturday Night Network. So 2 more shows this week. We have By the Numbers on Wednesday with myself and Mike Murray. So I'll be on that show with Mike. We're going to talk about the biggest numbers and analytics headlines of the week as we break down all of the screen time and everything from the beginning of 2023. And then I will be live at 8 p.m. on Thursday with Amanda, one of our great patrons, to wrap up the week and then talk a lot more about Woody Harrelson. So we'll talk about some of our favorite Woody moments and what we're expecting then. Next Monday night in this spot, brace yourself, because it's the night before Valentine's Day, and it's all about love here. And we're going to try something a little bit different. And I hope you check it out with us, where we're going to be giving relationship advice to anybody who wants to send in their questions. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you're a big SNL fan, you want to date somebody or meet somebody who loves SNL, you don't know what to say to them. Well, we're going to have some of our panelists on who are going to answer your relationship questions. We're going to put out a forum on social media at the end of the week. We're going to try and have some fun SNL talk integrated into the show, but I think it's fun every now and then to step out and try something different. So TJ will be on that show, Rebecca will be on that show. We're going to just have a lot of fun answering your relationship questions. So whether you're single or in a relationship, we're happy to help. So
John is going to break down. Are you going to break down people's relationships statistically, like how long they kiss versus how they hug, and have a graph?
Yeah, lots of screen time.
Okay. What screen time? Okay.
That is a non-Mike Murray show, but we'll have fun next Monday. With that, we're going to also have an SNL Stories coming up, and then we have a Superfan Takeover coming up the following week, where you'll get to see Haynes on that one as well. I also want to do one quick shout out, which is to our, a very fun podcast with some of our good friends of the show, Jamie Dew and Thomas Senna, who have a show called the SNL Hall of Fame that I've appeared on a few times. And they have just inducted season 2 of the SNL Hall of Fame. And I'm very happy for the inductees who have made it onto the show. So there was a lot of voting over the last few weeks, and congratulations to Will Ferrell, Bill Hader, Kristen Wiig, Tom Hanks, Mike Myers, Norm Macdonald, Alec Baldwin, and Seth Meyers, who have all made it into the second edition, the second ballot of the SNL Hall of Fame. So this was very fun. Season 1, they join people from season 1 who got in, including Lorne Michaels, Eddie Murphy, Steve Martin, Tina Fey, Gilda Radner, Phil Hartman, Dan Aykroyd, and Chris Farley. So congrats to all the inductees, and make sure to check out, they're going to begin season 3 of the Hall of Fame, which I will be back on to talk about Buck Henry in a couple weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to our friends over there who do some great work. All right, Sean, where can the listeners check out everything you got going on?
Oh, yeah, guys, if you are anywhere in the LA area, come to the Manhattan Beach Country Club tomorrow, performing comedy there. And I'm with my improv team at the Clubhouse this Wednesday. And we're at the UCB the 26th. Come check out Bernie Mac and Cheese, 10 p.m. at UCB on Franklin. And yeah, I got some other shows. Check me out, SeanGrant.net, if you want to see any of my stuff.
Absolutely. Morgan, thanks for joining us tonight, and I appreciate it. I know there was a little bit of tech stuff going on, but you made it, and we got to hear your thoughts. So great to get to talk to you.
So sorry about my technical difficulties. But yes, you can find me at Morgan Killoren. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. Love being a part of this awesome podcast. And I'm just waiting till you bring back the Hollywood Dish with Rebecca Nicole, because I was a 3-timer on that and I love pop culture. So bring that back, please.
One day we'll do that. I promise. And
wait, Morgan, are you in a mansion? Like, is that? Let me see your roof. How far
I'm
up?
in the conference room.
Oh, dude, you're rich. Look at your house.
All right, save this.
I'm sorry.
Haynes, where can listeners check out everything you got going on?
Well, this is really big for me. I've actually got a show coming up. It's at 10 p.m. at UCB. My group is called Burning Mac and Cheese. If you guys want to come out, I'm always on Twitter at SNL has a cast, and Instagram at Kid Drew Attitude. Yeah, that's where you find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you to Sean and to Morgan and to Haynes for joining us tonight. It's always wonderful to get to talk to so many great guests on these Monday nights, and everyone in the chat for hanging out with us. And I hope you will join us on Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for a great By the Number show as we break things down. So for everybody at the Saturday Night Network, my name is John. We will see you next time, everybody.